about the whole steak and meat analogy. And at one point he refers to the meat as the content. And we sprinkle on some seasoning and sides and then dessert. And with as much respect as I have for Dave, I actually don't think the meat of our lessons should be content either. Content is important, but content is forgotten. The life skills that we teach our students through our content, through the activities, and the educational experiences we have for them in class is what's going to last, is what's going to have them be successful in our class, outside of our class, and outside of our schools. And so we had a great speaker named Chris Gates earlier this year who came and talked about integrity. Was that this year or was that last year? This year? Yeah, boom. Thanks, Michael. Right? Earlier this year, and he was talking about integrity. But before he got started, he made a point, and I'm going to make the same point because I think a lot of us have probably heard different programs, different speakers who have talked about the importance of life skills. And what I would like us to do is take that and just set it aside for today. If you come in here with preconceived ideas, right, you're not going to hear it as something new and maybe take away something different from it. So, yes, you know, we've all heard of life skills and the importance of them. Maybe you are for them, maybe you are kind of against them, or you like tried them once and they didn't quite work. So, and I'm asking you as we start just to put that aside and come at with what he has explained as a beginner's mind. The first time you're hearing this, right? I look at my 4-year-old nephew, you know, and every time he sees a rainbow, it's like the first time he's seeing a rainbow. And it's just the coolest thing. It's also that way when he sees a cow. We live in Wisconsin, and so that is a lot. Oh, God, it's a cow! Dude, we see cows every day. It's not really that exciting, but that's, I hope you come with all of your sessions today with that same sort of awe and wonder, trying to find something new that you can take away from it, even if it's a message you've heard before. And so our first key of purpose-driven learning is confidence. I was able to present at the National Independent School Conference in St. Louis. Gosh, time is such a weird thing. Was that earlier this year, Michael? Or was that last year? Last year. I use the other day a lot, and the other day really has a wide span. So the other day I was presenting at the Isaacs Conference. And I attended a session on backwards design, backwards planning. And they asked us to take a lesson that we use and then backwards design it. I was in it with Judy Block, for those of you who are from USM. You know, we both were sitting next to each other going, this is awesome. I didn't take a lesson. I actually was like, let's backwards design purpose-driven learning. And so the point, the thing that I want, my ultimate goal is confidence. Confidence in their abilities, confidence in their learning, confidence in themselves. I mean, everything of successful people is wrapped in confidence. I have the confidence that I'm going to succeed. I have the confidence that if I fail, I'm going to be able to come back from that and try again. I have confidence in my public speaking skills and my ability to convey ideas. I have confidence in my ability to work well with others. So confidence is the ultimate goal. Confidence in your content area? Sure. So how do we then give them that confidence? And so one of the things that I do is something I call confidence-centered curriculum. And it makes every moment in my classroom an opportunity to build confidence. So we don't just answer questions in my class. If you're going to answer a question, I have you stand up and you take a deep breath, and then you answer the question in front of the class. It's been awesome. really was just something that 2 years ago, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, I started, and it has changed my classroom. Was it 3?
3 years.
Oh. I'm really glad Michael's here. He apparently knows.
The other day.
The other day, I decided, how can we build more confidence? And now, of course, I'm focused a little on confidence in public speaking, but so much confidence has when you can stand up and share your thoughts and ideas in a confident manner, as opposed to just sitting in the seat or mumbling or giving me the answer, I don't know. My students aren't allowed to say, I don't know. They're allowed to raise their hand when they think they have the right answer, but then sometimes I call on people whose hands aren't up, and they look at me with real wide eyes like, oh man. But we've gotten really to a point where they stand up, they take a deep breath, and they know, and I will remind them, what is your best guess if you don't know? And if it's wrong, it's an opportunity to learn. It's not the end of the world. Nobody makes fun of them. I mean, it's one of those things, I had to build a safe and supportive environment with trust exercise and team building exercises. But confidence, right? They know that they can get up and they can share their thoughts and ideas. And so I encourage you guys in your classroom, right, if there's just even one thing you take away, maybe it's that confidence-centered curriculum where you're encouraging the kids to fully participate with confidence every day. You don't give them a pass to sit there and not learn, sit there and not share their ideas, sit there and feel dumb, right? You are capable. So today, when I ask you some questions, I'm going to be calling on some people. I want you to stand up, to take a deep breath, and to share your answer confidently with the rest of the group. And then it'll make you feel good about yourself, right? Don't worry, trust me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and this is all together, right? I'm amazed at how many of my students, they come to drama in different groups and they go to the rest of the classes. So they go by advising to some of the classes, or they're split into certain groups. And then when they come to the arts, they kind of just throw anybody who's free together and they're like, here, everybody take a class. And so a lot of the kids don't know each other. Same, we have some lower school teachers here. I'm amazed when our 5th graders come. They're like, oh, they were in my class last year. So they know the person, but they don't know the person as well as, I guess, in my mind, like everybody plays together. Well, not if your recess is at different times, or, you don't ever, see the other class. So I like my kids to get to know each other. It's hard to trust each other and build a community when you don't know each other. So for just 1 second, it'll be a little longer than 1 second. Time is confusing to me. I want you to turn to your neighbor and share with them a reason why you chose this session today. So go ahead and turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself.
I'm Hetty. Because we've met before, right? Yes.
I came to visit, I've seen Adam on Twitter, and I just wanted to hear his message.
This is a part of this kind of
Right. Where do you
Harmon High School.
Oh, okay.
We just voted
Really? Wow, that's Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That is awesome. I feel like why you chose this for that purpose. Right. Oh, they always want to know that. Oh, wow. Yep.
All right. Good. When you give a classroom full of teachers the opportunity to talk, I love how loud it gets. My drama classroom is very loud, but I call it organized chaos. I mean, they are learning, and sometimes other people come in and like, wow, your room seems so crazy. But it's a good kind of, like that learning kind of crazy where everybody's engaged, as opposed to unfocused sort of crazy. which at times it also gets, right? So enthusiasm is our second key of purpose-driven learning. A positive attitude and excitement. I mean, this is something that Dave was talking about all day yesterday, right? It needs to come from the teacher. We need to get it into our students. And the question is, how? How can we make our students excited about something that they're not initially excited, enthusiastic about? And that's what our conference is full of, right? Gamification is a way. Some of the hooks that Dave talked about yesterday are ways to get kids engaged and enthusiastic, right? So the question you need to ask yourself, what are you doing in your class to not only get yourself excited, because of course we need to model that behavior, but what are you doing intentionally to get your students enthusiastic about what they're doing? And so I want you just to take a moment, if you could, and think about in your grade level, in your subject area, right? Or in school in general, why is enthusiasm? Why, if they don't like math, if they come and they do it, right, isn't that enough? So why do you think enthusiasm would be an important thing to encourage and build in our students? So think about that, and if you have, if somebody has a really good answer, I'll let you raise your hand before I call on somebody. I will call on the person whose hand is. If not, I luckily know a lot of you in here. So, great. So, yeah, I would like you to stand, and if you need to, take a deep breath, and then it gives you a chance to collect your thoughts for a moment, and then you can speak.
So your question was,
Yeah.
why do we need to teach kids to be enthusiastic, say if they don't like math, which I relate to because I teach math. But it's not about content.
Right.
It's about living, and it's about life. And if you can't enjoy life, and get the most out of every day and be enthusiastic about it, then what is it? You need to embrace every day, and that's what enthusiasm is.
Yeah.
I don't know entomology, but I suppose if you broke down that word, there would be something regarding, seizing life.
A joy of seizing, yeah. Very good. Thank you. Right? Yeah, it's about life. And we all have things that we don't necessarily want to do in real life. Students throughout their career and as they get older are going to have things that they don't particularly love, are passionate about, are excited about. And then they're going to have to do so to encourage them and help them and build that ability to find something that they can connect with and become enthusiastic about is an important skill. I'm just going to pause you.
Oh, sorry.
I teach kindergarten here, and one thing that I think we've done maybe over the last couple of years to be a little better and maybe to hit on this component is we've tried to give a lot more choice to the kids. So even like during our literacy block, we do daily 5, so there's a lot of choice involved. We've tried to revolve some of our math sort of center type learning. So there's still directed lessons that fall into that, then there's a choice. So like there's still the framework there. There's 5 things they choose from. They can't go to the same one every time, but they can choose. This time I want to go here first, or today I'm feeling like this one. And I feel like that's helped maybe a little bit with some of the excitement and the want to sort of do the math game or, read the books and things like that. So that's
absolutely. Thank you. I will say that choice is a big one. Most of my students love drama. It's a required class, so all of my 5th, 6th, 7th grade. It becomes an elective in 8th grade that a lot of kids sign up for. They really enjoy it. We do a lot of fun things. But I know it was last year. Last year, I was at a conference and somebody said voice choice, and I was like, ugh, I'd hear voice choice one more time, but I guess I'll incorporate it. And so I threw out one unit and put in one that really kind of went like this. It's a solo performance. Do it. You know, and they know the elements of a strong performance. So they had to have physicality, they had to have expression. I started off with them writing a proposal that I could either say yay or nay to. And if they didn't put forth enough effort in their proposal, they had to rewrite it. So at least I knew what they were doing, right? But I really didn't say no to anybody. And some of them came up with crazy solo performance ideas. I had 2 kids teach themselves ventriloquism, and then because one's like found a dummy up in their attic from their grandpa, and so taught themselves ventriloquism. Somebody found a journal entry from their grandmother who was in a Japanese concentration camp, and then reenacted, like brought that to life. Beautiful. Somebody did a dance, a Korean New Year's dance, which does not have vocal expression, which was one of the requirements. So to do the dance, but then she also explained what was happening in the dance beforehand so that she met that requirement. The passion and excitement behind that project. So I did it again this year, and now for 2 years, everybody's, oh, that's my favorite performance we do. I was like, just by giving you choice. And really, it was so nice because I didn't have to come up with a big rubric that spelled out everything. It was like, here are your performance requirements. Come up with an idea. Effort, I think, is when we all understand. We say it all, put forth your best effort, put forth your best effort. The question is how? How do we get kids to understand what their best effort is? How do we get kids to put forth their best effort on a regular basis? Choice is definitely one, right? They're going to work harder on things that they are engaged with. Besides choice, I'm going to throw it out to you guys. What are some other ways you have found to get kids to put forth their best effort? You have any practices? Any ideas? Because it's something we say a lot. But I don't necessarily know if students always know what their best effort is. Oh, we have a classroom of teachers. There we go. That's what I like. John, why don't you share?
I should stand up.
You should, yes.
I think giving them that idea that they're going to have this audience whose opinions they care very much about is going to be doing them. So making something that future generations are going to be learning from is powerful. So creating an artifact that's going to teach future generations, whether it be video, textbook, whatever it be, that's going to future learners. Yeah, thank you. Very good, right? A larger, authentic audience. You should not be your child's only audience, your student's only audience, right? And I love when people like, I have a student in 6th grade this year who did very little work outside with some other subjects. We go to team meetings and they go, the student would not do the work. And yet he did all of the work in drama. And I was like, yeah, this kid's awesome. And I was like, what? Right? So he's practicing one day, working really hard, has his script written and memorized, and they're going through physicality and expression. And I'm all like, dude, why are you only doing work in drama? You're so good. And he looks at me and he's like, I don't do it for you. And I'm like, right? He does it for himself. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Because that's what learning's supposed to be about. He wants to do well for himself. He wants to do well because he's going to be up in front of the entire class performing. It's not, and this is no cut on any subject area, just a paper he's writing to turn in to be read by the teacher to turn back to him. This is something the whole class is going to see. And if he does a good job, we record them. He might make it into one of my teacher presentations. A lot of the kids really get excited when I'm like, oh, your Shakespeare monologue made it into my, teacher conference. Wow, he really excited. So the idea of a bigger, larger audience will help them put forth some more effort. Awesome. Giving the kids time to work will increase their effort. And yet, in the flip side, shortening it to a reasonable amount so they get going and don't waste time, right? I was just in Michael Matera's session, and he talked about instead of putting a timer up on the board, he uses this sunset video, and they just don't know how long the sunset is going to go down for, so they're like, we got to get to work. Effort goes up because they don't know that, that sunset is going to be for 12 whole minutes. But if you put 12 minutes up, they're like, we can kill time for 3 or 4 minutes. Right, so a few ideas.
Focus is another thing we talk about quite a bit, right? I actually am considering, after 6 years of purpose-driven learning, changing focus. Because Dave made such a great point that we're about focusing on the pool versus being immersed in the pool. And I don't know how like immerse or immersion, I don't know what, noun or verb or thing needs to fit here, but somewhere getting more of that idea. I love the idea of how we get our kids immersed in learning, right? I think it takes it a little bit further than just being focused on their learning. Like so many things, right? When students are engaged, doing work that they care about because it was their choice, because there's a larger audience, they're going to be focused on the task at hand. However, drama is pretty exciting, and I still get kids who are unfocused at times, who lose focus at times. So I'd love to hear if anybody has any suggestions on ways to keep focus, bring focus back once focus is lost. Is there any cool, quick activity you guys do, or something you might say? Yeah.
I teach first grade, but when we're working on a project or something, I'll say, let's do a 1-2 walk around. So they stand up and they just walk around, look and see what everybody else is doing, whatever that happens to be, and then get back to work. And that kind of just re-energizes.
Yeah, right. Sitting in for a long period of time definitely can have an effect on our focus. So getting up, seeing what that might inspire some ideas for them. To see what other people are doing. Maybe they think theirs awesome, and all of a sudden they see it like, oh, I need to be working a little bit harder because other people are. We do that in drama. We perform for another person or a small group, and they get feedback. And sometimes those kids are like, I'm nailing this, and they see other people perform, and they're like, I better revisit what I am doing. So yeah, that definitely helps with the focus.
I've been working with a 5th grader this year that is very motivated by arm wrestling me at the end of our time together. She knows, like, if she, she's engaged the whole time, our last 30 seconds is an arm wrestling match.
Nice.
I know that sounds a little.
No, that
I was
is
like,
awesome.
I asked my husband, is this inappropriate? He said, no, it gets her really excited to be there. That's her favorite part. So.
Ooh, that is.
I've always wanted, that's her goal. And she wants to beat me. Like, she thinks she's a strong 5th grader, but she doesn't beat me.
That is awesome. That is, and it's so good. Like some little reward at the end if we get to time. I had an awesome 6th grade class this year. Performances were fantastic. They were super funny, but they never shut up. Oh, every transition, everything. Somebody would share something. Oh my gosh, now we all have to talk about it for a second. It's like, you guys are wasting time. At the end of the year, we had a class or two that we really could do some just theater games in. And so I'm like, great, we're going to play freeze. And the whole class was like, let's freeze. I'm like, what do you mean, let's freeze? We played it at the end of class throughout the entire year, 6, 7, 8 times. They're like, we never played it. And it's suddenly dawned on me, like, you're right. You guys have never played this. We have never in your class had an extra 5 or 10 minutes at the end of class because so I had to teach them. This game was awesome. I'm like, now imagine what that would have been like all year because every other class has played this. And so that sort of reward at the end is definitely a motivator. So to help with focus, I'm going to encourage everyone to stand up, please. And we are just for a moment not going to arm wrestle, but we are going to thumb wrestle, right? So with a partner, you're going to thumb wrestle. I don't really need to give any more directions than that, right? So, does anybody need a partner? Turn your partner around.
All right. That's not, don't sit down, don't sit down. That's not it. Now with a group of 4 or 6, it has to be an even number, right? Right? You're going to watch Michael real quick, otherwise you're going to be confused and you're like, I don't understand how this all works. That's not what we're doing.
Are we doing 2 at the same time?
We're doing 2 at the same time. So every other person needs to cross, every other person needs their arm open. That's how it's going to work. So get into a circle of even number. Good. So it should be your hands are open. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have one more, and I really don't understand how this works, but you guys are really smart. You're doing a great job. We're all going to put our hands in and sort of like layer them. Here, watch. This group is really a smart group, so I like how you all pack. So like there, and then here we got one more, right? So we have this big group. I don't know how you win or lose this. Make up your own rules, but I don't think you can hold 7 thumbs down. Try it.
Oh, I don't want to make anybody mad.
Oh, Michael, you better let Pam win. All right, everybody, have a seat.
It's amazing how personalities come out of these little things.
If you can tie, I don't know, whatever this is, a USB, silver fancy paper, those clips.
Oh, that's my place.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. It is great when you can tie activities and games and fun into your content area. I encourage you at times to not, to just play something that is fun. That took all of 4 minutes. You're good, right? So whether it's at the end of class or it's at the beginning of class so that they get there a little bit quicker because you're going to start on time. And if they miss it, they miss it. Like there's ways to really build that enthusiasm, have a little fun. The more fun a class has together, the more they trust each other. The more they trust each other, the more confident they will be to take risks. And the more risks they take, the more they'll grow. So there's just so much positive all wrapped up in there. So, yeah, thumb wrestling. I saw that it's a TED Talk if you want to look it up. I wish I could give you the person, but if you just look up thumb wrestling TED Talk, you'll find it. So then we get to resilience. I love resilience. This is an example of a word that is, it used to be perseverance. And then we had long, difficult conversations about whether or not we were going to change the word, on a sheet of paper that I only see. So, but like perseverance is working hard. Resilience puts an obstacle in your way. I like that. I'm working hard, but sometimes hard work isn't enough. You come to an obstacle and you fail and you have to step back. You have to assess what you did well, what you didn't do well, and try something different. If you keep trying the same thing, you're going to keep running into the same obstacle. So they have to say, how can I do something different? They try that, they might fail again. They take a step back and they learn. But we go back to that confidence. If they have the confidence that eventually they will succeed, that they are smart enough, that they are talented enough, they are hardworking enough, that they are resilient enough to eventually overcome it, they'll keep working hard at it. And we build those skills by giving them opportunities to fail. Resilience is one of several of these words that are in conflict with grades. We can't say it's okay to fail and then give them an F for being resilient and trying and trying and trying, but never getting to a point of academics of A. Right? That resilience is something to build and to praise, even if they're never successful in the end. We love the idea of resilience, but then we say, there's no redos in my class. Can I try again? No. You should have known it on this day at this time. And if you didn't know it on this day at this time, too bad.
Too bad.
Like, no, what? And when you say it that way, it does sound ridiculous, I realize. And I'm sure that maybe there are people in there who have the no redo, and there are good reasons why. I say a stronger reason why not to is the fact that how do you build resilience if they don't get a chance to show you that they've learned from the mistakes that they've made? That you give them the opportunity to show you resilience. If our objective is learning, sometimes kids need a second, third, fourth try to learn. Right? Oh man, I didn't click to my quote page, and I'm already done with resilience. So I like this picture though, right? Academic resilience is actually physical resilience. And then I really like Booker T. Washington's quote. Right? The obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. And we all have different obstacles. Our students all have different obstacles, right? It is true that my students here at University School have different obstacles than an urban setting school, public school that has to deal with a much higher level of poverty, right? But both of our students have obstacles that they need to overcome, just different obstacles. And quite honestly, I think a lot of similar obstacles when you get down to their emotional state. We move on to initiative, right? Again, this is probably the word that I use the most in my classroom. Because I want students to take the initiative. We are a one-to-one school. I love technology. Technology fails all of the time whenever you need it to work the most. And students love to use that as excuse. Mr. Moreno, I don't have my script today because I couldn't print it off because my printer's broken. It's not an excuse, right? Take the initiative to figure out a way to still get your work done. And we talked through, your friend has a printer, email it over to him, have it printed, bring it to school. We have printers here at school. Right? But the third floor printer isn't working, or we printed too much and now they said we can't use it. I'm like, well, use the second floor printer. Tell me and I'll print it for you, right? I didn't have time. Where were you during recess? Yeah, right? So it's about taking the initiative to be successful. And they love it. And the beginning of the year is always a little rough because we're building those skills, but by the middle and the end, it's so awesome when they're like, they love to tell me the whole story. Mr. Moreno, I've got my script. I'm like, great. So does everybody else? Yeah, but my printer wasn't broken. So I called my grandmother, but her printer wasn't broken. And I emailed it to my friend, but it was in a different format, so he couldn't print it. So I came in early. I was like, sweet. Now that is taking the initiative. And I always praise that, as ridiculous as the story sometimes sounds. Oh, I'm really like, dude, you're 14 years old. You should be able to print something without this much excitement. But for some people, just getting it there, nice and neat, is a big accomplishment, right? So how else can they take the initiative, right? I don't talk about the grade, but if you take the initiative to ask questions when you don't understand, do you take the initiative to go in and get help when you need extra help on something? It is not my job to track you down. It is your job to come to me and say, Mr. Moreno, I didn't understand, right? Every now and then I get, didn't ask because they thought you'd get mad at them. What? When have I ever gotten mad at you for asking a reasonable question? Well, I guess not, right? I love questions that pertain to what we're talking about and show that you're engaged with what we're doing. It's okay for you not to understand. You're 10. So yeah, taking the initiative. But again, students will take the initiative if they don't have the confidence, right? Students won't take the initiative if they're scared of failure. And so these kind of, you start to see all really work together. And they're going to make students successful in your class, outside of your class. And are skills that they're going to carry with them beyond school as well, in their arts, in their athletics, in their other extracurricular activities. This is a really good quote, right? I use this quote too, but not just initiative, but integrity, right? Doing the right thing when nobody's looking. It's the quote whenever I have a sub. Right? We have a today's meet every day to start class. They come in, they sit quietly, there's a quote of the day, and they have a discussion, a quote and then a question about the quote. Sometimes what does this quote mean, but often more, because the quote's fairly obvious, like the one on doing the right thing when nobody's looking, and I say, oh, why is it important to do the right thing? What are some obstacles that would cause you to not do the right thing when people aren't looking? And they have this great discussion, and they're very respectful. But I do impress that upon them, that digital citizenship. We have this great discussion for about 5 minutes or so, where everybody gets a chance to have their voice heard. I sometimes chime in, but it's also a nice time to finish what the last class is doing, because we only have 5 minute passing, and then get ready for the next class. So it keeps them nice and focused. They really enjoy it. Gives my quieter students the opportunity to be heard without having to necessarily stand up and speak in front of everybody. So it's really nice. Creativity. I am a drama teacher. I love the arts. But even if you're not an arts teacher, you can be creative. It is probably the message from Dave that I love the most. Everyone is creative if you're willing to work at it. It is not something some people have and some people don't. It does not come any easier to me as it does to somebody who claims to not be creative. And like all of the skills before this is something that can be practiced, it can be measured, it can be developed. You can get better at being creative. Your students can get better at being creative, right? I know we have some lower school, elementary school teachers in here, and I don't know at what age we start to lose that, but when I ask at least my third graders, that's the youngest that I work with, who's good at acting? Boom! All of their hands go up. When I ask my 7th and 8th graders, who've had me for years and are awesome, who's good? Like they look around. I guess I'm not as good as first, so I won't put my hand. But what? Where did we lose that? You guys are awesome. So we have to find a way to keep their creative confidence. There's a great TED Talk. I don't know the gentleman's name. I'm really apparently bad at knowing who's in the video of TED Talk. That is no. I cannot. No, this is a different guy. He's short. He's got real thick, kind of like those hipster glasses. Only he's not really hipster. And he talks about creative confidence. So if you just Google search TED Talk creative confidence, you'll find him. He's a great guy, great talk, right? About that importance of being confident in our originality, our individuality, our creativity. Boom, sounds like a good name. Is he short? Does he have glasses? Are you looking at a picture?
Idio, he's Idio.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah! No, he gave TED Talk, really good TED Talk on creative confidence. Oh, yeah. It's really good. I'm sure that TED Talk is really good as well. And so I would love to hear ideas. And if you're an arts teacher, great, share arts ideas, but especially from some of the, we call them core subjects. Maybe how you incorporate some creativity into your lessons, into your units, into your projects. Anybody? Or arts teachers, if you have ways to incorporate them into their lessons, that'd be good too. Joy, you got something? We got it. I saw you.
So in ELA we have, we just have free writing.
Just
You can write about whatever. Can I write a story? Yeah. Go on. And then they share, and they just love to write these silly stories and share.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you. And here we just started this year, I believe, right, Pam, our writing circles in English,
Yes.
right? Oh, I'll tell you, Brad Dunning, he's around here somewhere. I'm sure there might be other people. I just happen to know that Brad is a big enthusiast about writing circles, like reading circles. And their kids love them. They love writing and they love reading, which is something that maybe isn't said about all students, right? That's a struggle for some. So that, again, choice and creativity. Anybody else have an idea? Sure.
My kid likes to do raps.
There, yeah, right. Raps about calculus.
Repping that calculus. On YouTube, it's had almost 1 million, I think, or 500,000, either 500,000 or 1 million hits. My kids were shocked when they showed it to them. Repping that calculus.
Yeah.
And that kid went on to develop an online, he went to school in Madison, and he went on to develop an online restaurant, order out thing that made it big in Madison, actually. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll tell you, I mean, like, it's amazing how creativity works. Some of my academically lowest students are just brilliant. I mean, I give them that, your title should be bold and underlined, your characters are capital letters, skip a line when each newspaper. They bring in a crumpled up sheet of paper that was at the bottom of their bag that has no punctuation or capitalization at all. But the script they wrote is brilliant. So I pair them up with the person who is super, here are all the directions, but I don't give them directions. Or I was like, so how long does it have to be, Mr. Moreno? And I'm like, I don't know. Long enough to keep me entertained, short enough to keep me entertained. Right? But they want everything spelled out for them, and I'm not that type of teacher. The real creative kids love it. The kids who really succeeded with the traditional academics struggle to answer the questions for themselves. So I love creativity. Important. And curiosity. At another conference, I really wish I kept track of where I learned all this stuff. But we distinctly remember, like, the conference where the guy up front was like, don't answer your students' questions. I was like, what? I always answer my students' questions. Really smart. He's like, no, make them answer their questions. And he said, he likes to say, put your answers in your work. Or put your questions in your work. Right? And I use that all the time, to the point where my students, it drives them crazy that they have a question like, oh, that's a great question. Put it into your work. Answer it. And it's either going to be what I was looking for or not. And if it's not what I'm looking for, like, maybe it's going to be something even better. And it happens all the time, at least in drama, where kids are performing something like, that's not what I had in my mind when I asked you to perform that. But they perform something super awesome. Somewhere when we were doing Shakespeare monologues, one of my girls do a modern adaptation of it. I don't really understand how she could ever hear that. But we looked up the modern adaptation so they understand what the traditional Shakespeare means. But like, you're performing your traditional Shakespeare. 63 other students understood that. She did not. And she performed Juliet's balcony scene, Romeo, where with modern English, and then she brought in a costume and some props and stuff. It was super adorable. And I was like, that's awesome. And all the kids were like, she did it wrong. And I'm like, it wasn't wrong. It was just different. She misunderstood, but that was a happy mistake. And then everybody was like, well, what are you going to grade her? You know where these kids, I don't grade anything. And I'm all like, what? She's got the same grade as you. So, but the curiosity. Instead of giving them something that spells out all the answers, a rubric, have them explore. Instead of answering their questions, Connect them to a device, to that internet that has all the answers. Teach them how to learn. And I love the curiosity. This next slide really is one of my favorite because, science is such a great subject to explore and discover new things that nobody else has ever discovered before. Now, my brother's a science teacher, and it's really, he actually right now is in Arizona studying. He got a grant to the University of Arizona to study something for 6 weeks. And I love my brother, but he is a science nerd, and he keeps posting these Facebook posts, be like, I did something with a polymer, something, sulfur, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? I don't even understand the words he says. He could be writing in a foreign language to me. But he's so excited to dig deeper in something that he doesn't fully understand. I see that in our students, not just in drama class, but we have students in all of our subjects who are going in during recess to learn more about their artist and visual art or this math. We have math clubs that kids love. I'm like, really? You're going to play more math things? Yeah, I love it. Great. Chess is a huge thing here. Our kids love chess, and it just gives them that opportunity to figure out different ways to solve problems. I love that curiosity. Now, most of what we talked about up until now is internal. Confidence is internal. Putting forth your best effort is internal. Resilience is internal. These next two really address the fact that we don't just get to work by ourselves all the time. We're not just individual learners, we are group learners. And as group learners, we need to be dependable. If we say we're going to do something, we need to do it. We need to do it to the best of our ability. We need to communicate and collaborate with the rest of the group. And so being a dependable member is important. And I would love to, just for a moment, hear some ways, because group work, I'm sure, is something we all do in our classes. Are any ways that you really do awesome group work? Do you let them choose their partners? Do you have a cool way of selecting their groups? Do you put your strong with your weak? So what are some ideas that you might use for group work? There's really no right or wrong answer here. You can take it wherever you'd like.
A lot of times in second grade and third grade, we just put like a little sticker on index cards, and they have to go find their matching sticker, and that's their partner. There's an element of surprise.
Yeah, but now you've decided who they're going to be partnered with, though, when you put the stickers, or they just randomly select?
It's random.
Yeah.
Well, or you can give certain kids certain.
So you have
kind
both
of
freedom
bring
there?
it how you want.
Correct. Yeah.
I just finished Also Lives Learn Like a Parent.
Yeah, good book.
And what I used to do, and what I need to change because of this reasoning, I used to either let them choose, or I choose for them, or I'd have the random. I had all three, but I'm going to make it random because he says you have to learn to work with everybody. And this is how the world goes. Yeah, I really do. And so now I've decided that with that will come a question. So once they find out who's in their group or their partner, I'm going to give them a question to talk about before they start, just to get to know each other.
Yeah.
So like, what's your favorite sport? Or what do you do after school? Something small so they can talk to each other. So I can find out that they do have commonalities before they start working together.
If I don't bring that up when we get to empathy, remind me, okay? Because that's going to be the next one. Yeah, absolutely. Great point. I still do even after reading Paul's book, because I want to, there's really something to be said for both pairing up my students who can follow every direction and my students who don't, who are often then just so wildly creative and yet struggle with those directions. Gosh, what they can create and the appreciation they have for each other, because initially they are like, I'm going to be sort of gender stereotype, because it happens like my boy, 11-year-old boy who can't remember to bring a pencil to class, gets paired with my A+ girl who wants everything spelled out for her. She gets really anxious, And when they first get there together, it's like, what? And then they produce something so, and it's funny because the girl will come and be like, Mr. Moreno, he is laying on the ground, not participating. And I'll be like, dude, buddy, what are you doing laying on the ground? I'm reenacting. I'm like, oh, he's reenacting the dance. You said to read it. He doesn't read things. He's going to reenact it. Just go along with it. Right? But it's so good for them. And quite honestly, what they produce is awesome. But I also don't always want to put my high achievers with my low achievers. It's not necessarily the fairest thing all of the time. And so sometimes it's really, I intentionally put some of my strongest together, and what they produce is awesome, or their egos get in the way and they fight and what they produce is horrible, and that's also a great learning experience in drama. But then my bad ones are all like, what do you have done? Well, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And neither one of you ever do anything. Isn't that done? Somebody's going to have to step up and do something. Oh, that's a great learning experience too. So, I mean, it is becoming a dependable ensemble member. I also, and you know, my classroom is very open, very honest. If you don't have your work done, I kind of call you out on it, but then if your work is awesome, I praise you for it. So there really is just a lot of openness behind it. And sometimes when we're choosing partners, the same kid is sitting there going, nobody chose me. And I'm like, why? Let's have a talk about, like, because you don't do anything, because you don't contribute, because you're kind of annoying, because you don't, you know, stay on task. Like, and it's very eye-opening and I think very revealing to them. And it's good for them to sort of hear the fact that, like, if somebody doesn't want to work with you, let's ask ourselves why. It's not necessarily their fault. And then we get to our final one, and so we're just